Myself, Vishal. I'm a senior indication developer in Millennium, India. I have around 6 years total experience in IT and near to 5 in MuleSoft. Which started with 3 point versions. Yeah, so that's a short introduction for me. Karthik, can you go next? So yeah, as Karthik mentioned, today's agenda is Google Hangouts integration, and we are covering two topics within that: platform alerts and the application alerts. Okay, now why do we need this? So in many companies till today, the error monitoring or the alerting is done via the email. So if you get any error in any API, you just use the email connector or maybe the common email API if you have in your organization. So that is the current way in many organizations. So that's the way operations team uses that for error monitoring. That is now old way, and it has its own drawback because you have one operations email box, and you need some person to monitor that mailbox to get the latest emails and to take them on priority. Since it's a common mailbox, there are chances you can miss out mails because it's a human error because he needs to search which APIs I got a mail for which all API and things like that. Email flooding. So if let's say you have an API which is receiving too many requests, and if it's failing for all because of some target down conditions, so it will send email for all the records. So it can flood your operations email box. Also, since all the notifications come to single mailbox, it's difficult to segregate like based on APIs or some categories. You need to set rules always to segregate if you want to do some segregations anywhere. So that's why it's now a kind of an old way. It's time to move to the new solution. So possible solutions. So one of the possible solution is to we need to embrace the modern IM or the instant messaging tools like for the real-time action. Like we can use Google Hangouts or the Teams. We have connector now available in the latest release, or the Slack. So for the Teams and Slack, we have the connector. For Hangouts, it's a HTTP integration, I can say. You can use many more also if there is something else used in your organization. In today's topic, we will cover the Hangouts integration, but the design, whatever we have done for the alerting, will remain common. Only the message format and the target will change based on your organization's usage. Go next. So Google Hangouts, or it is also called nowadays Google Chat API. So if you want to connect to Google Hangouts, there are two ways to connect. One is using the generic REST APIs from the Google, or the other way is using the incoming webhooks. So the incoming webhooks let you send a message asynchronous into Google Chat from application that aren't bought themselves. So I will take a minute to explain this sentence. So normally what people people do is they develop a bot. So why it is asynchronous? First, I will explain what is synchronous. So if you have a bot kind of thing which you have built for the conversational logic, where let's say you queried what is the weather today, so you will send a query to your chat room. Your bot will get triggered and will call the external API to get the weather, and then it will respond you back. So that is called as request response or the synchronous message communication. Whereas the webhooks is asynchronous because it's like alerts, like let's say server went down or some API is down, so it will just send the alert to your chat room or your group. It doesn't care. It is not dependent on the user input. So it doesn't care. It's like the announcement we have on the platforms. So it's just will send you. It's not dependent on the user or the consumer to respond. That is why they called it as asynchronous message communications. Few of the feature of Webhook is it's quick and easy to integrate with existing workflows or the chat rooms or the groups, I can say. We don't need to write any bot applications for these. And we can configure multiple webhooks on any chat room. So on single chat room also, you can configure multiple URLs if you have different sources. Just one more note, this Google Hangouts feature is available only for the Google Workspace or the formerly called as G Suite customers only. It is not available for the personal accounts, personal email accounts. Go next. So let me just explain you the architecture. So on the right side, you can see many APIs, MuleSoft APIs, which can be like normal APIs you have. So in between, we have our application where we are getting all those messages from the APIs. You can say error messages in our case. And in this, our common API, we have added the webhook URLs, which will directly call your chat rooms or the groups. So this is how it is designed. So you get a message, we send to the chat room, and chat room will give you response, and that way it is. So it's all HTTP. We have communication. We have an app. Basically, we have an app in between your applications and the webhook URL, like to trigger the chat rooms call. Go next. So this is a webhook configuration. So on the right side, you can see one chat room called Fun. When you click on the name, you will get these all options. You can see view members, rename the group, and things like that. Over there, you will get one option called configure webhooks. When you click on that option, you will get the window which you can see on the left. So on the left, if you see the bottom side, you can give a name and you can just click save. So when you click save, it will generate a URL for you. You can see few URLs on the top part. So these are the URLs specific for your for the chat room, and you can create multiple URLs also for the same chat room. And the syntax, how the URL look is, you can see in the bottom side, chat.googleaps.com space ID message key and token. So basically your authentication, the key and token are embedded in the URL. So you need to keep the URL very secure. If it is compromised or if it's exposed, anybody can send a message. So it's easy way to communicate, but also we need to take care because it is having authentication directly embedded in the URL. So just be extra cautious with that while saving it. Go next. Okay, so we can now we have understood we can send messages to the chat room. Like what different formats of message you can send. First one is the normal text one. So when you send message like when we post this kind of body to the webhook URL, on the right side you can see how it will look in the chat room. So it's just a normal text. If you want to have some hyperlink or some link embedded in the message, you can see the second one where I have added a hyperlink for the URL example.com, and the text which is visible is my link text. So when you click on that link, it will direct you to the example.com. Third is if you want to mention someone while sending a notification, this is the syntax. So you need to write, hey, we can't write the name directly, we need to pass the user ID of that one. So we might need to do extra call to identify that user ID, but this is the way we can use if you want to mention someone in some message. So yeah, so these are the normal simple text message formats which Google Hangouts or the webhook support. Go next. So if you want to do some formatting within the simple text messages, these are the formats support. So you can add a bold to any word. You can do all bold, italic. Even you can have a block. So if you see the last one, we can also mention as a block kind of thing. The way we see in the Exchange different formattings. The same way we have the formatting options for the Hangouts also for the simple text messages. You can see the examples. Go next. Okay, so what we have seen till now is the simple text messages. What if you want to do some image based or some card type formatting messages? So that also is supported. I have attached few examples. So just to mention, these might not be applicable for the alerts case. It's just a generic. I am explaining you what formats are there. So you can use in other things, like if you want to do success, if the finished successfully, then send also message. We can use this for CI/CD. So this is not for alerts case. This can be used in other cases also. So let's say for this example, what the case can be is, let's say it can be for some food delivery app. Let's say once your order is out, you might need to send a message to your customer saying the location where it is now or where it is. Or maybe if you want to send your car to someone, your location. So that is supported. So you can add a Google Map URL if you see in the bottom section, and also image representing that location in the Google Maps. So when user click on this message, when it click on open in Google Maps, it will open in the Google Maps your location. So if you want to share your location with someone or some other cases, you can make use of this format also. This is another format. So let's say you want to send some image. So this image is having hyperlink embedded in the backend. So if you see, I have added an image URL. So this image is then presented on the right side, and on click in the on click object, I have a URL. So when anybody clicks on this image, it will redirect or open an URL called example.com. Okay, message formats. The third one, this is a kind of concatenation of all the things. So the example for this can be like the same one. Let's say you ordered some pizza and it's out of delivery, and you want to inform your customer. So what you need the name of the pizza cafe, maybe it's email or the web address, your order number, its status, and maybe the order link to see the status. So what all thing we need to embed? It might not be visible for you because it was too big to post in the post request. So it has, so the top part you see the Bones Cafe and the email. This is called as header. So you can just pass the title as a Bones Cafe, and image URL, the pizza icon you see, that's the image URL, and subtitle is the email. Maybe you can give the site address. Okay, then in the middle part is order status. So it can be your order number and the status. The bottom part is maybe the location, like where it is now, and we have added a hyperlink called open order. So when anyone click on that, it will kind of do the get order details call. So I have added a URL for example.com/orders/12345. So when anyone click on that, it will go to the browser or to the app and will open the order status, like all the details of your order, maybe the invoice also. So this is also possible. As we see in the simple text, we have the formatting options. Similar way for the card options, we also have the formatting. So few are the same, like you can do bold, italic, underline. What is new here is you can also do the font colors. You can add a hyperlink directly, line break. So you can also do the coloring for the card format. So if you in the single line you want to color some words, that is possible. So yeah, so when you send a message to the webhook or the chat room, it gives a response. The response looks something like this. So it has your message ID, user ID, like the bot, the name which we gave while creating the webhook. The next part is you have the text message what we sent. So in this example, I sent a text called hi. It was a simple message, so that's why cards, V2, all these objects are empty. You can get the thread ID also. As soon as it posts a message, it creates a thread ID for that, which we get in the response. Then you get space ID. It's basically chat room ID, you can say. And the display name is basically the name of your chat room. MuleSoft application alerts. In this case, this is the name of your chat room, and the time when it was done. So these details you get from the chat room or the webhook URL when you call it. Okay, now as mentioned in the agenda for this today's demo, we covered two subtopics: platform alerts and the application alerts. So let's start with the platform alerts. So platform alerts. So basically, platform alerts are alerts with respect to any different platform. Like, let's say you want to see how many vehicles are you using in your business group, how many are left, or let's say you're using any point MQ offering from MuleSoft, and you want to see if there is any queue which is having more than, let's say, 10 messages stuck, or is there any message in the DL queue, or you want to see the API status, like whether all the APIs in production are available or active, or let's say runtime manager notification. If you're using the Cloud Hub connector and you are sending custom error notifications to the runtime manager, we can fetch these also. So for all these kind of cases for the Cloud Hub, we have the platform APIs available, using which we can fetch those details and then alert the operations team accordingly. Whereas there are few alerts like CPU usage, the memory usage, or the worker unresponsiveness, or the policy violation. These For this we don't have the platform APIs, but what options MuleSoft gave us at this current moment is we can configure alerts for these cases. The alerts will send you can configure the email address where the alerts will be sent, and and what we can do is we can read the mails from that mailbox, whatever you configured in the alerts, and then after reading the alerts from the mailbox, we can send a message to the chat rooms. So that way, by using that way, we can send the alerts for these also, but there is no direct platform APIs for these cases currently. Kazik? Yeah. Second is application alerts. So as I said, let's say you have an API and it is failing because of target is unavailable or some connectivity issues, for which you want to inform your operations team. So what we need to do is we need to call our Hangouts API. So as explained in the Webhook architecture, we have built that app called Hangouts Common API. You can say it. So all you need to do is in your on error continue or on error propagate or your common global error handler, all you need to do is configure one HTTP requester calling our Hangouts API, and all you need to do is send the error object, which gets generated. You don't need to do some structure formatting before calling the requester. All you need to do is just in the body, just write error. It will send the error object to our Hangouts API, and details to extract from the error object, it's all left to the Hangouts API to take care of. That whole responsibility will be of Hangouts API to extract the fields which we need to which need to use and pass to the operations team. You just need to configure one requester. So as I said, the task of extracting important fields, the fields which are important for the ops, and notifying the chat room is taken care by Hangouts Common API. That is not, you don't, the API doesn't need to do anything extra. They just need to send the error object on the URL. Yeah, so this is kind of a design, the Hangouts API design. So as we said, we are covering two type of alerts, platform alerts and the application alerts. So the first segment you see, for the platform alerts, it can be kind of a scheduler based job, which can, let's say, check every 2 hours or whatever frequency you want to do. So what it does is once the scheduler gets triggered, we do a set of platform API calls to get that information from the platform API, let's say vCore usage or maybe the endpoint MQ message count. So once we get those information, we basically need to form into the Hangouts API post body structure. As you've seen, if you want to send a simple message, we can just write text colon and the message you want to pass, and then we'll invoke our webhook URL for the chat room. So the demo, which will be in after maybe a few slides. So for this demo, what we have done is we have created two chat rooms. One for the platform alerts, because platform alerts can be managed by ops team as well as the C4E team. Whereas the application alerts or the error notifications need to be handled only by the ops team. So we have created two chat rooms, one for the platform alerts and one for the application alerts. So yeah, as I explained the platform alerts part, now the application alerts. So let's say you have APIs in which, let's say, error is happening. So in your on error propagate or continue, you have configured our Hangouts API URL and you have written error as a body. So it will make a call to our HTTP listener. Okay, and then Okay, here I will take some time to explain the flooding prevention. So what we have done is, so once we get a request, we have applied the client ID enforcement policy. So we also get the API name, which is sending us the request, and also since we are getting the entire error object, we also get the error type. So what we are doing is we are using object store. So in the object store, we are saving your application name colon your error type as a key in object store. Okay, so let's say it was first time, so it came. Let's say application name is app1 colon, let's say HTTP timeout. So this will be a key which will be saved in the OS, and the next is the message will be formed, and the webhook URL will be triggered, and the message will be sent to your chat room. Let's say if your API is failing continuously, and again you receive a failure in, let's say, next 2 seconds, again we will receive a message, but at this time we already have an entry for the same application and the same error type, so it will drop. So we have a check which checks whether that key already exists or not. If it exists, we will drop, else we will pass it through. Also because we have configured TTL also, because we don't want just to send it one time. We, let's say we want to minimize the flooding. So let's say if we configure TTL of 30 minutes, so what it does is, if in the, let's say it's 12 o'clock and you receive a error, and we sent a message to the Hangouts called app1 colon HTTP timeout. If the same API is sending the same type of error again in the next 30 minutes, it will be dropped. But if it's sending alert, let's say in 12 at 12:31 or 12:35, it will be sent just once. So we are trying to minimize the error flooding. So that is what the aim of the design was. Karthik, you can go next. So yeah, error mail flooding prevention. So the same case, I will just explain a little more. So let's say your API, which is receiving, let's say 100 requests per minute, and due to some glitch, the target endpoint, every request starts failing. So if it was a normal way, the same alert email will start flowing to the ops email box, and it will flood their email box. So the problem with that is, it will result problem for the ops to identify unique alerts, because it will flood it so much, like they need to scroll too much to find the unique error emails from different APIs. And as explained in the design, we have used the object store in design, which we try to minimize this and support the operation team in proper serving. So as mentioned, we store app name colon error type as key in OS, and if same combination comes again within specified TTL, it will be dropped. But if it comes after the TTL expiry, it will just send it once, and if it still comes again, it will not send for next 30 minutes. So we are trying to minimize the alerts from the same type of error. Karthik, yeah, go next. Yeah, so this is a screenshot of the flows. So this is a flow for the application alerts. As I said, we are storing the unique combination in the key. That's why there is a check contains operation from the OS, which will check whether that key exists or not. If it does not exist, it will go in the first route where we will store that key. We will found the message from the error object, and we call a HTTP to the webhook. If it will come again, the check in OS will be true. It will go to the default one, and it will, so basically it will not be sent to your chat room. Karthik, you can go next. This is the flow for the platform alerts. So in the platform alerts category, we have covered the vCore usage for this demo. So to get the vCore usage, we have used the Cloud Hub Platform API from MuleSoft to get the vCore usage, just for your information. So as I explained, it is a scheduler-based flow, and we need to perform series of operations. So to get the alerts, you need to have a generic account. So we need to use that account with all the permissions required. So we need to get a token from the MuleSoft, and then we need to get the user ID, because it will be required in the calls subsequent. So we need to get a token first, and using the token, we will retrieve our user ID, the ID which is saved against our name in the MuleSoft, and using that we will query first to get all the business groups. So whatever business group access you have, it will give us a list of business groups to which you have access. Get all BGIDs call will give us the list of business groups. Since it can be list, so we use a for each, and for each business group we get the resource usage. We will do a cloud of platform API call to get the usage. So it will give us what is the total week or available, how much of it is getting used currently, and how much is left. And we will do this in for loop for all the business groups. We can set a threshold. Like let's say if the usage is more than 80%, then only alert on the chat room. So we can have that condition, so that can be set in while aggregating the messages from all the business groups. We can have that condition. If the usage is more than 80% of the total, then only alert the chat room, else just skip it. So we will aggregate all the messages from all the business groups, and then we will form a request out of it, and then call the webhook URL of the platform alerts. So this is how we have covered for that. Yeah. So this is another scenario. Let's say you have created two chat rooms, one for the application alerts, one for the platform alerts. But let's say in your production you have many APIs. Let's say you have 300 APIs in production. So one chat room will not be sufficient, because still, if let's say at any given minute, if there are 20 failing applications, so you will get 20 messages in chat room, which will be still too much to scroll and can be annoying. So what we can do is we can have multiple chat rooms created for the application alerts. Let's say, so this will again be based on discussion with your operations team, how much they want, how much they can monitor parallelly. Let's say they said we can operate 5 chat rooms parallelly for application alerts. So all we need to do is once we get the messages, we need to redirect them to one of the chat rooms. So the logic to redirect can be like round robin, just randomly send to one of the chat room. Or if you want to have some custom defined logic, let's say you want to have one chat room specific to the for all the experience API errors, one chat room for specific to all the process API alerts, and one chat room for the system API alerts. So we can do that way. Or if you have your some own priority, like you have set of APIs which should be on, let's say, on priority 1, another set of APIs on priority 2 and priority 3. So we can have that custom logic defined, and based on the priority of application, we can direct that alert to the specific chat room. So that will be a customization, and it will be based on the discussion with operations team. But yeah, this can be achieved, and this will be helpful when you have many APIs in your organization and you want to maintain them. Next is the demo, followed by this. So Karthik, can you?
So I have a couple of questions, Vishal, like before
Okay,
demo, like if
sure.
okay. So suppose I wanted to send the attachment to the chat room. Do you know how can I send the attachment? Like I wanted to upload file or something like that.
Okay, so good question, Manish. So first thing we have used the approach of webhooks. So in the webhooks, we only have the simple in the card formatting. We don't have way to directly add attachment. But there is one way you can do is if you have a document on the Google Drive or somewhere, and you have a link for that, you can send a link directly in the chat room. But you can't directly attach or upload a file. You can only send a link of that document if you have link handy. But as of now, at the current moment for the webhooks, we don't have support for the directly adding the content of the zip file or some attachments. But this is only for webhooks. If you are using the generic REST APIs from the Google Hangouts, in
Hmm.
the generic REST APIs, there's an option to send attachment. But for the REST APIs, it's a two-step process. You need to have a service account first. You need to get a token first, OAuth 2 token, and then only you can call the attachment APIs. So you need to upload the attachment, and then you need to pass that ID in the chat room, something like that. There are steps to do that.
So I have another follow-up question on that. So
Hmm.
what is the difference between REST API and this Webhook URL? Because I
Yeah.
can see using the REST API also uh,
Mhm.
I can post content to the chat room
Yeah.
or. Mhm.
Yes. So the main difference is the webhook uh, and webhook configuration is pre-authorized. You get that key and token directly in the URL. You don't need to do some call first. You don't need a service account to be created first and get the token and then call it. It's the direct way of calling it. Whereas in the chat and the normal generic chat API, you need to first have a service account, then you need to get a token with the proper scope first, then you need to pass that token while making a calls. So the steps are less in the webhook, but internally it is doing the same way call. Since webhook is direct way, so they have limitations like we don't have way to send attachments.
Okay, so I have one last question. What if Webhook URL itself got compromised or something? Uh,
Yeah, this can happen. One quick way is so when we create a webhook URL, we have
so
an
that
option.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the reason I asked that you have mentioned token is a part of the URL, right? This is
Yes,
what you are
yes.
mentioning in Webhook URL. So yeah, so that is why I thought of asking this question.
Yeah, that's also a good one because let's say your URL got compromised by some way. So the thing is, if somebody get that URL, they can start sending message and spam your chat room. So only way we can do is when we create a webhook URL, we have option to edit it as well as delete it. So if your webhook URL got compromised by any way, or we need to go to the chat room and delete that webhook URL. So then after that, if anybody tries to use that, they will get errors. They will not be able to send that messages. So you need to delete the webhook URL if it's compromised.
Okay, thanks Vishal for answering. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Manish. Any other questions, or should we move with the demo part?
No questions in chat yet.
I hope I was not too fast.
Okay, if no questions, we can move to the demo.
Vishal, I have one question on the same topic. So if I want to export a complete chart history into PDF, how to do that in MuleSoft?
For that you need to use the normal chat REST API, Google Hangouts chat REST API. There's,
Okay,
there are options in that for all these things.
okay, got it.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm playing demo now.
Kartik. Kartik, or is it stopped? Kartik.
I was playing, probably
You need to, yeah,
share my
maybe.
sound as well.
Yes.
So I'll share my screen again with sound. Yep.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Vishal here again. So let me start the demo. So for demo purpose, I have created this business group, this anyone studio account, having business group called self, and the Hangouts API. I have created a RAML for that, and I have published to the design center. I will just quickly show it to you how it looks. So I've just added one method called send. It's a post method. Let me show you what is the body coming. So the error object, when you send, it will be going in this way. It's a generic structure. Yeah. So this is a body which you will send to the Hangouts API. Now I have applied the client ID enforcement policy on my Hangouts API because we wanted to fetch the application name who is calling our Hangouts API. So simple configuration here as well. Client ID enforcement policy. And for testing purpose, I am testing whether another application called Hangout Tester. That's why I have created a contract with this name. Now let me go to the runtime manager. So in runtime manager, this is our Hangouts API. This is our testing API called Hangouts Tester, and others are just dummy APIs. Okay. So before starting the triggering the call, let me just quickly show you. So these are our two chat rooms, one for the application alert, another for the platform alert. Over here you can see we have the managed webbook. Here you will get the webbook URLs. Okay, let me go to the demo part. So let me first start with the platform alerts demo. So before that, if you can see, there are 6 applications deployed, and in the free trial version we get 1 week code. So total 10 we can deploy out of 6 we have deployed. So if I go here, if you recall, we have scheduler for the platform alerts, which is this scheduler. If I just trigger it, so we should be receiving alert in any moment. See now, business group self, this is a business group which I've created. Current usage is 60%. And message, please add more vCores because threshold I have kept very low. Let's consider one scenario. If I switch off one of the API, let's just wait for a minute. Okay, now it is undeployed. If I go again in this one, go to schedules, again trigger it. Now in the alert, you will get 50 because we switched off one app. So it is dynamic and it does the real-time check. Now going back to the second part. So as I explained, this is the API which we use to trigger alert. So I have configured 2 schedulers, 2 different type of error. One is app :test1, a custom error mapping. One generic called HTTP connectivity. So this is first time I'm triggering. I will just trigger run now. So this will fail because the endpoint which I'm calling on the target is invalid. triggered. Let me go to this. Over here, you can see application name Hangouts tester, coordination ID, connectivity. What was the connectivity error? Connectivity type, error details, HTTP get on so and so. So this is basically error details uh, uh, from the error object, and which component it is failing. So it is failing on line number 49 in this XML file. I guess these details are enough for the ops team to just get initial details and start the analysis. We don't want to pass the entire stack overflow over here, and it will consume too much of space and will be difficult for the scrolling. So we just want to give minimum details which they need to start analysis. Now going back, if I trigger, let me trigger the second one now. Okay, done. Okay, so as you see, this time we got error called app test1 because I triggered that scheduler. Now, just to show you how it is doing, how it is preventing the error flooding, let me trigger the first one again. Get triggered. Here, you don't see any notification because since this is already notified and we haven't crossed the 30-minute TTL, so it will not notify again. Even if I click again, so you see it triggered again. Nothing here. Same goes with the second one. If I just trigger the second one, go back, nothing here. But trigger again, go back, nothing here. So same type of error from the same API will not be notified again until the TTL is crossed. So by this way, we are trying to prevent the error flooding. Yep. Okay. Yep. That's it. Demo.
Thank you, Vishal. That was good. And I was just wondering if the same can be done with Microsoft Teams.
Oh, yeah. Just to update on that, so since the Teams connector is released recently, I was just trying to see what it has features. So in the Teams connector, you need to do authentication using OAuth. You need to configure the things in the Azure. So that the authentication is basically you can think of as OAuth kind of thing. And Teams also has the same functionality, like they have simple text messages to send. Teams also has the cards formatting. One extra things which Team has is in the Team you can send attachment also directly.
Somewhere.
So, and you can even send HTML table if you have some HTML tables you want to pass to chat room, some stats kind of thing. That things are available in the connector, Teams connector, because it's using the Teams REST API internally, so it is exposing all the functionalities.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
that things are there in Teams. If you want to do for the Teams, the only things changes is you don't need to call the webhook. You need to have the Teams connector over there, and you need to change the formatting, because if you see in this, when we were calling the webhook, we were passing text : the message. In the Teams, they called as content or message. So those small changes are there when you use the different tool of IAM. But yeah, so those are minimal changes, not big. For the Teams, you just need to add the authentication properly. That's the only thing.
Can we also create new chat rooms with webhooks?
Um,
From MuleSoft.
no, chat rooms for the Google you're saying, right?
Hangouts.
No, it is you need to add directly. So if you want to create chat rooms, that's possible, but using the REST API. So
Okay.
all the other things, so whatever you want to do with a Google Chat, you can do all the things via REST API. You can list chat rooms, you can create chat rooms, you can remove people from the chat room, you can send a message to chat room, you can delete a message from the chat room, You can even do event, which is like a one-to-one message. So the REST API is capable of doing all the things, but Webhook is like out of the box, like directly just click create a URL and use it. Don't worry about the authentication and calls and things like that.
Okay.
It's a direct and simple way to connect.
Okay. Any more questions from anyone? You can put in chat as well.
So, Vishal, I have one more last question, I would say. Uh, so, like in chat room, we do have like 10 people, right? Just
Mhm.
for example. So, what I need, like based on the error, like if it is business error, I want to send to a particular person, not to the whole chat room. So in chat room, there is one business person also there, and I wanted to send that message to that business person, not to the whole chat room. So is there any way I can categorize? I know in MuleSoft we can do the categorization of like business error or technical error, but how we can send it to the particular user in the chat room? Like DM type of things,
Okay.
like I direct
Uh,
message to the one user.
if you want to do a DM kind of thing, we need to use the chat, the generic REST API from Google Chat. It's not possible in the webbook or the chat rooms. What you can do is, let's say you have a chat room where you have all the users, let's say functional as well as technical. Let's say you want to send a message to some technical person, you can use hi at the rate that username, that kind of
Okay.
thing
Okay.
in the simple text formatting I've shown you. So webbook is only for the chat rooms.
Okay. Okay.
If you
So
want to do direct
basically,
one-to-one, it's an event. It's called an event, and you need to use the generic REST API kind of thing.
okay. Okay. So basically, Webhook, what I understood, Webhook is out of box, right? Without
Yes.
authentication
Yeah,
and
directly
basic.
authenticated URL you will get. You don't
Yeah.
need to worry to OAuth service accounts and all the steps.
Yeah, and mostly famous for async communication,
Yeah,
like just
asynchronous
send, yeah, send the alert
alerts.
and
Yes,
yeah.
server went down, application is undeployed, or maybe one good more case I can think of is, let's say you have a CI/CD in your company. Let's say you are deploying your APS and in the pipeline it got failed, maybe due to M units or maybe due to some other issues. So maybe in that case also you can directly send a notification to the maybe operations team if it's for the production, like saying this pipeline for this API failed, and maybe you can attach a URL also of that pipeline directly in the as a message. So there are many applications. It's just not limited to the error messages. Even let's say if you have some business case where you are having a batch kind of process, and once the batch is completed, you will get the stats like how many was success, how many was failed, how many was total. So you can just trigger a message to the once in the on complete state. You can just have this webhook Hangouts API call and send a message to the maybe directly to the chat room of that business to inform that like we have the batch process complete from the MuleSoft end, and maybe if they have the steps to do after that, they can take care of it. So the application the scenarios are not just limited to the error messages. We can use for the CI/CD information. We can use for the success cases also. Let's say once you create some orders and you want to inform someone like these orders got created to the business people, you can do that using this also.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.